This group of lessons is our culminating experience. We're going to build on what we just learned about insulation to literally build. We'll follow an engineering design process to build small, climate-friendly homes out of shoeboxes that stay cool in the hot sun of our testing setup. Here's some examples of how students use recycled materials from home to build these projects. Some worked better than others. The PDF Culminating Experience Teacher's Guide is your best resource for getting a handle on this project. It has thought starters to jumpstart student work in case they're struggling, student examples of both the structure and the trifold brochure, and a full rubric for grading. In the first lesson of this group, we share out the results of yesterday's investigation about different insulation materials. We want to make sure that everyone has access to the full set of class data because we're going to be using this table to choose materials for the culminating experience. Before we get to that, we have the unit concept checkpoint number 2 to see if students are really ready to move on to this culmination. And we end the day by introducing the culminating experience. We pass out the instructions, show students from prior year's examples, and take a few moments to brainstorm. In Part 2, Lesson 21, students take on their roles as engineers of climate-friendly homes. To be effective in their job, it might help to think about how professional engineers approach problems using an iterative process. There's no one way or single engineering design process, and our worksheet actually shows 2 different examples. Over the next few days, students are going to be walking through steps a lot like these. They spend most of their day brainstorming and planning, though. Importantly, they'll want to make a list of materials to bring from home to reuse in their houses. We'll end the day with a written progress report and a reminder about their homework to bring the supplies. Over the next 3 days, we work through the engineering design process. We've already defined the problem and brainstormed. Lesson 22, they construct and test. Lesson 23, they test and design. And Lesson 24, they test their redesign and share the results with other groups. Each day, they fill out a written progress report. And with their final design in hand, it's now time to focus on the next stage of the engineering design process that didn't actually make it onto our previous diagram, and that's to communicate the results. In Lesson 25, we return to the student instruction page that we passed out at the beginning and emphasize the parts of the trifold brochure that students will need to produce in order to communicate their results. In Lesson 26, students share out their climate-friendly home in a gallery walk alongside their brochures. They provide feedback and ask their peers questions. Then we answer the question, how does our design challenge relate to the real world, using a short presentation? We end the unit with our final assessment of science knowledge, but more importantly, a fictional scenario with a family conversation about energy conservation. Students reflect on how the fictional character in the story approaches the topic. What does she do well, and what would they do better? You've made it now to the end of Unit 1. Congratulations! Next up, Unit 2, Home Energy, which of course builds on everything that we learned in Unit 1.